Her last Instagram caption read, "Not going anywhere for a while." She posted it 2 days before she disappeared. Lynette Hooker was 55 years old. A sailor. A mother. A woman who had looked at a full life on land, sold everything she owned, and chose the open ocean instead, because the ocean was where she was happiest. On the night of Saturday, April 4th, 2026, Lynette went out on a small dinghy with her husband, Brian. She was heading back to their sailboat, the 46-foot Morgan sloop they had named Soulmate. She never arrived. Her husband says she bounced off the back of the dinghy in the dark and vanished into the water. He says he searched for her for hours. He says the moon had not risen yet, so he could not see. He did not call for help for 8 hours. That is the story Brian Hooker has told. And there is a boat sitting in a harbor in the Bahamas, filled with electronics, with tracking data, with forensic records, that may tell a very different one. This is Crime Dispatch. And today, we are going to follow every piece of evidence in the disappearance of Lynette Hooker, from the sailboat she called home to the federal investigation now closing in around the man who was the last person to see her alive. Stay with me.
You have no idea where she is.
Yeah, I never imagined my mom would disappear.
Because Lynette deserves someone to keep asking questions until there are answers. If you are new to Crime Dispatch, welcome. This channel exists to tell stories like Lynette's, with the seriousness and the care they deserve. Please subscribe right now and hit the notification bell. This case is moving fast. Federal investigators went public just days ago with a major new development, and you do not want to miss it when the next update breaks. Subscribe. Now let's go. Before a single piece of evidence, before the timeline, before any of the questions surrounding Brian Hooker, I want to talk about Lynette. Because in cases like this, it is very easy to lose the person inside the investigation. That is not something this channel is willing to do. Lynette Hooker was 55 years old, originally from Michigan. By every single account from the people who knew her, she had found exactly the life she wanted. She and Brian had spent 4 years living full-time aboard Soulmate, a 46-foot Morgan sailing sloop. They sold the house. They sold the furniture. They walked away from life on land and documented every moment of it on social media under the name The Sailing Hookers. If you are a person of faith, please say a prayer for Lynette Hooker right now. Pray that she is found. Pray for Carly, who has carried this fight publicly every single day since she received that voicemail. Pray for Darlene Hamlet, who drove to Miami, secured an emergency passport, and kept moving toward her daughter when most people would have collapsed. These two women are not giving up. And neither are we. If prayer is not your practice, hold Lynette in your thoughts. Hold her family. Hold the people who love her and who are still fighting to get her an answer. Type Amen in the comments right now. Let Carly and Darlene know that people watching from every part of the world are still asking the same question they are. If you scroll back through those videos, the paddleboarding in Marsh Harbor, the sea turtles, the solar cooking, the laughing into the camera, it looks like a love story. Two people who chose each other and chose the horizon. Her daughter Carly Ellsworth described her mother as adventurous, determined, full of life. Her mother Darlene Hamlet told CNN they are still holding on for a positive outcome. Lynette Hooker was not a headline. She was a daughter, a mother, a woman who called the ocean her happy place, and who, on the morning of April 5, 2026, did not come home. She deserves to be found. Her family deserves the truth. And this investigation, with all of its complexity and all of its questions, is working toward both. If Lynette's story is reaching you, if you believe she deserves more than silence, please hit the like button right now. It tells the algorithm that this story matters. It keeps her name in front of people who might have information. And it cost you nothing. Thank you. Now let's follow the evidence. Brian Hooker has not been charged with any crime. He has categorically denied any wrongdoing. His attorneys say he is innocent. We report this case with that firmly in mind. What follows is his account, and the questions that account has generated. Daytime, April 4th, Brian and Lynette spend the day out on their 8-foot hard-bottom dinghy. They visit Tahiti Beach, a popular shallow water spot at the southern tip of Elbow Cay, and later have dinner and drinks at the Abaco Inn near Hopetown. 7:30 p.m. April 4th. According to Brian, he and Lynette board the dinghy to return to Soulmate, anchored at Aunt Pat's Bay. Sunset in the Bahamas on April 4th was approximately 7:40 p.m. Shortly after 7:30, Brian tells authorities that conditions worsened. Winds picked up to around 20 knots, seas became choppy, and Lynette, in his words, basically just bounced off the dinghy. Those are his exact words, from a recorded phone call with a friend on April 7th, a call he did not know was being recorded. 7:30 p.m. to 4 a.m. Brian says the engine cut out because Lynette was wearing the safety lanyard, the kill switch. He says he yelled for her. He threw a flotation cushion. He says the moon had not risen, so visibility was near zero. He anchored the dinghy. He drifted. He paddled 4 miles west through choppy dark water. 4 a.m. April 5th. 8 hours after his wife allegedly went overboard, Brian Hooker arrives at Marsh Harbor Boatyard. He does not call 911. He makes his way through brush, then contacts police. 8 hours. No call for help. No emergency beacon activated. No mayday. Lynette's daughter, Carly Ellsworth, found out her mother was missing through a voicemail. Left approximately 24 hours after Lynette disappeared. Not a phone call. A voicemail. Carly told CNN, "How do you just lose my mom?" That question is what this entire investigation is built around. To understand why this investigation may ultimately be solved by the boat rather than by witnesses, you need to understand what Soulmate actually is, because it is not a normal sailboat. Before Brian and Lynette ever bought this vessel, a YouTube channel called Boat Snoop, hosted by Clint Johnson, who tours boats listed for sale, walked every inch of it on camera. 5 separate identifiers confirm the boat Clint toured and Soulmate are the same vessel. The HIN number, the hull ID, the call sign, the MMSI maritime identifier, and 2 fixed dolphin statues at the bow visible in both recordings. What Clint Johnson found on board, and what he specifically flagged as unusual, is what turns this boat into something forensic investigators almost never have access to. Let me walk you through the key systems. Forward-looking infrared camera providing thermal night vision. Even in total darkness, even with no moon, a person operating this system can see people in the water from inside the cabin. Brian says he could not see Lynette because the moon had not risen. Soulmate had a system designed specifically to see in exactly those conditions. 2 Raymarine autopilot systems, one on the wheel, one hydraulic backup. This boat can steer itself. It does not need a second person at the helm at all times. Mounted at the stern. Active tracking of surrounding vessels and objects. 600 watts of solar. Clint Johnson noted this specifically. The boat runs entirely off solar most of the time and does not need shore power. A power failure would be recovered almost immediately by the solar system. Soulmate's satellite signal went offline for approximately 11 hours on the night Lynette disappeared, then came back. Given the solar redundancy, a power failure is almost certainly not the explanation. Someone turned it off, then turned it back on. Brian says Lynette bounced off the dinghy. The dinghy is a Boss hard-hull rigid vessel. Fiberglass, not rubber, not inflatable. It does not bounce. The word itself does not match the physics of the boat they were on. Brian says the engine cut out when Lynette went overboard because she was wearing the safety lanyard. But the motor was an electric outboard, an unusual choice where a kill switch is not standard practice. If your passenger goes overboard and the engine cuts out, you lose the power you need to go back for them. Law enforcement executed a search warrant on Soulmate and seized electronic devices. Phones, navigation equipment, the boat's own systems. Lynette had posted about Brian networking the boat, actively adding more technology to an already advanced vessel. Those devices have records. Those records are now in investigators' hands. If that boat moved the night of April 4th, there will be a record of it. If any systems were manually deactivated, there will be a record of it. If anything was communicated from that boat, there will be a record of it. Soulmate is not just a home. Right now, it is a crime scene on a mooring ball in Marsh Harbor. And every piece of data on it is potential evidence. This is the kind of deep dive analysis that this channel was built for. If you are finding value here, subscribe to Crime Dispatch right now. Drop a comment below with the word soulmate so I know you made it this far. Your engagement matters more than you know. Thank you. Let's keep going. Lynette was reported missing on April 5th. By April 8th, just 3 days later, Brian Hooker was taken into custody by the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Assistant Commissioner of Police Alvaro Dames told Reuters Brian was questioned based on, in his words, some probable cause we have. Brian was detained for 5 days. Under Bahamian law, police can hold someone for 48 hours and then petition for up to 96 additional hours of extension. That extension was granted by a magistrate. That tells you investigators felt they needed more time with what they had. During his detention, police executed a search warrant on Soulmate and seized electronic devices. On April 13th, prosecutors recommended no charges be filed at that time pending further investigation. Brian was released. The day after his release, Brian sat down with NBC, CBS, ABC, every major network. He said he would never stop looking. He said Lynette was his life. He said his one job had been to look out for her. Hours later, he left the Bahamas. He flew to the United States. His attorney said his mother was gravely ill. That may be true, but Brian had told every camera in the Bahamas that nothing with a higher authority would stop him from looking for his wife. And then he left on his own, hours later. He is now in Michigan, where he has retained a second attorney. He has not been charged. He maintains his innocence. Lynette has not been found. Now let me tell you about Carly Ellsworth, because she is the loudest and most consistent voice demanding answers in this case, and she deserves to be heard. Carly is Lynette's daughter from a previous relationship. She is 28 years old. From the moment she found out her mother was missing, through that voicemail, she has been asking questions that Brian's camp has not answered. She told CNN she could not understand why Brian hadn't dropped anchor and gone in after Lynette. He is a former Marine. Both of them were described as experienced boaters who frequently traveled by dinghy, often without life vests. She told Fox News something even harder to hear, that there is a history of Brian choking Lynette and threatening to throw her overboard. Let that land for a moment. Threatening to throw her overboard. And here we are. Brian's attorneys have denied those allegations categorically. Court records from 2015 do show a domestic dispute in which Lynette told police she had been struck by Brian. Charges were ultimately dismissed after a prosecutor found insufficient evidence about who initiated the altercation. Carly also told CNN that Lynette had left Brian before, had gone back to Florida because things had gotten bad on the boat, and that Lynette had a plane ticket booked for March 11th to leave again. She never used it. 3 weeks later, she was gone. Carly has hired attorneys. She sat with CGIS investigators for 2 hours. She is running a GoFundMe to support the search. She is not going away. And she should not. Here is what broke in the last 24 hours, and this is significant. As of May 5, 2026, 1 month after Lynette Hooker disappeared, the United States Coast Guard Investigative Service, CGIS, went public with a major new plea for information. CGIS are not Bahamian police. These are sworn federal agents of the United States government, operating under the Department of Justice. The fact that they opened a criminal investigation into this case and confirmed that publicly is not routine. This has gone federal. What they are asking the public to help them find is the owner of a specific sailboat, One that was moored at Aunt Pat's Bay, the same anchorage where Soulmate was sitting, on the same night Lynette disappeared. According to a Coast Guard memo obtained by CBS News, quote, "The owner or occupants of the sailing vessel may have information relevant to the CGIS investigation." Think about what this means. Aunt Pat's Bay is an anchorage, a place where boats cluster together. It is entirely possible, and CGIS clearly believes it, that someone on that mystery boat was awake that night. Maybe they saw the dinghy leave Soulmate. Maybe they heard something. Maybe they saw the dinghy return. Without Lynette. CBS News has also reported that CGIS investigators are actively conducting in-person interviews this week, not reviewing files. Active interviews, right now. And according to sources close to the investigation, CGIS is looking beyond Brian's navionics map, beyond the dinghy route he drew and shared with friends and media. They are looking at what happened at Soulmate, at the anchor point, before the dinghy ever left that evening. They appear to be asking whether Brian's story even begins where he says it does. If that mystery boat's owner comes forward, this case could change overnight. That witness could confirm or contradict everything Brian Hooker has said. And either way, we need to know. If you were in the Elbow Cay, Hopetown, Aunt Pat's Bay, or Marsh Harbor area on the night of April 4, 2026, please download the CGIS Tips app on iOS or Android and submit a tip. Tips can be submitted anonymously. The link is in the description below. This is exactly the kind of breaking development that you need to be subscribed to catch. CGIS went public. A mystery boat. A federal investigation. This story is accelerating. If you are not subscribed to Crime Dispatch, do it right now. Hit the bell, because the next update on this case, the one that could change everything, will be here first. I want to flag something that deserves a full episode of its own, but that I would be doing you a disservice not to mention here. Lynette Hooker worked for AT&T for decades. She had upwards of $650,000 in her 401k. She had sold everything, her house, her furniture, her entire life on land, to fund the Soulmate adventure. Brian Hooker, by contrast, according to multiple people who knew the couple, had burned through his own retirement savings. His 401k was gone. Soulmate, the boat sitting in Marsh Harbor, is Brian's home. He does not have another one. Everything of financial value in this picture is tied to that boat and to the life he and Lynette built together. I am not drawing conclusions. I am following the money. And we will do a full episode on the finances of this case. But I want you to have that context as we close today. Lynette has been missing for 1 month. Her body has not been found. Search and rescue has officially shifted to recovery. Brian, released without charge, remains a suspect per Bahamian police. Now in Michigan, 2 attorneys, has not been charged. Soulmate still on a mooring ball in Marsh Harbor. Search warrant executed. Electronic devices seized and being analyzed. CGIS federal investigation confirmed and active. Conducting in-person interviews. Seeking mystery boat witness publicly. Carly still fighting. Attorneys retained. Interviewed by CGIS for 2 hours. Not going away. Electronic data satellite tracking went dark 11 hours. FLIR night vision on board. Navigation app data logged. All in federal hands. Brian Hooker has said publicly and repeatedly that he is innocent, that this was a tragic accident, that the winds and the currents took his wife from him, that he tried everything he could. If that is true, the evidence will show it. The boat's data will support his account. The mystery boat's owner will corroborate his timeline, and we will have the answer. But if something happened on or near Soulmate that Brian has not told us about, then this boat, with its FLIR and its Raymarine and its solar power and its satellite systems and its seized electronic devices, is going to tell investigators everything they need to know. You cannot operate that kind of vessel and leave no trace. Soulmate knows what happened that night. Lynette, we have not forgotten you. And we are not going to stop asking questions until there are answers. That is everything for today's episode. If this coverage matters to you, subscribe to Crime Dispatch. Share this video with one person right now. Drop a comment below with Lynette's name so this page never forgets her. We will be back the moment there is a new development. For Lynette,